Hey everybody, I made it a couple seconds early. I'll give you guys a couple minutes or a couple seconds to join me since it's a couple minutes. Well, okay, it's 5 o'clock. Hey everybody, I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds and welcome to my weekly live chat. I have to say, I ended up sitting out here and enjoying myself for a couple minutes before I went live just to enjoy the peace that is sitting here and just listening to the birds and listening to the rustling of the leaves. Hey, Esther's daughter, thanks for joining me. It has been way too long since I was able to go live here outside and just enjoy this garden and my peaceful spot. Hey, Nun Biz, thanks for joining us. So it has been an amazing year so far, and it's only February. Spartacus, the weather is so nice and peaceful it is. Hey, Natasha, thanks for joining us. So in the description section of this video, you'll find a link to my comprehensive planting guide. Hey, Caitlin, you're in my area as well. You'll also find a link to different my garden challenges for 2025, the new arrivals for 2025, my garden journal. Hey Joe, you made it on time. Deborah made it. Jenny made it. Jenny would join me on, a lot of you actually joined me. Hey Michelle, a lot of you joined me on Facebook last week. So I'm not 100% sure how long I'm going to keep up the Facebook Live, but especially since spring is almost here. Laughing Garden, thanks for joining me. I've got key followers on Facebook. I've got key followers on YouTube, so I don't want to leave anybody out. But I also need to make time for my garden. So tonight's topic, hey Kelly, tonight's topic is edible flowers. That is awesome. I love flowers and I love edible flowers. Hey David at Patriots Rabbitry, thanks for joining me. You can see I've got onions here. Now I have a couple of videos. Hey Agatha, thanks for joining me as well. I have a couple of videos that I have planned. I haven't actually filmed them, but I have them planned. Planning is half the battle sometimes. I'm going to do gardening in small spaces, and I'm going to do gardening in a shade garden. So this right here, so to my left, you're right probably, but to my left is my newer garden. This is the brand new one that I installed last February. The beds are up, the fencing is up, and it thrived last year, even though it was my first year in this space. And a lot of times gardens don't thrive the first year. It's like year 2, maybe year 3. And we had some great success here. Now, I want to also share for people that don't have acreage, maybe you have a backyard garden, I want to share how you can grow in mostly shaded area right there. And then also a small space garden, which you don't see, it's kind of off camera. I've got grow bags there that were from last season. I'm going to be, let's see, I'm looking at them right now. I'm going to be pulling out the greens that are left, not greens, I should say, the waste from the garden and throwing that in my compost. And then I'm going to take the soil from the bags, mix it in with some fresh soil and start a new garden for that. So stay tuned for the updates on videos that aren't live videos, but I will still stay here Thursday night live, 5 p.m. Central Time. And then if you're on Facebook, go to my Facebook page and check out my Wednesday lives. My Wednesday lives are specifically about unique varieties that maybe you had passed up or maybe you had never even heard of. So far, it's been a success. Now, last night I said it was number 5, but it was actually number 6. Clearly, I can't count. I missed the first live and I started counting at one that was after that. So it's actually been 6 weeks now that I've done, it's been 7 weeks, but 6 actual live videos that I've done unique heirloom seed varieties. So definitely check those out if you are on Facebook. Now, the very first one on my list is going to be Nasturtiums. Hands down, my favorite edible flower. The young seeds are, hey Karen, thanks for joining me. The young seeds are edible. The leaves are edible and the flowers are edible. So super exciting on that one. They're a little on the peppery side, so it's delicious and it's beneficial. So something to think about if you're planning your garden right now. It's February, it's the end of February, so some of you might already have your gardens planned out. Some of you might be not even close to planning your gardens out. So there's something if you want to try to add nasturtiums to your garden. They don't take up a lot of space. If you're in my area, I have 2 in-person events that I will be attending this month, next month, March. Monday, March 3rd, I will be at the Kaufman County Master Gardeners event. And then on Saturday, the 22nd, I will be in Marshall, Texas. And I really apologize for not having the specifics on that. I know that, and I'm already signed up for it, so I'm going to be there. It's 9 to 3. I know that it's in Marshall, Texas. I will post it on my Facebook page. I know that the garden club in the area has a plant sale, and the funds raised from the plant sale go to the adoption center for pets. And so we love animals here at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. We have 4 rescue cats inside that you've probably seen both on my videos and just randomly posting. So when they reached out to me, I think it's called Petals and Paws. And so they asked if I wanted to be a vendor. I'm not teaching at that one, but I will be a vendor at that one. So if you're close to Marshall, Texas, add that to your list of things to do. I think Karen, you said you're in Louisiana, that might be close to you. And it's a fun event. They've got a plant sale. Yeah, exactly. Marshall is close. And I know, Karen, you guys missed the Longview event. So I really hope that you can come and see me at the event in Marshall, Texas. It's not that far from you there. So stay tuned. I'll post updates to my Facebook page, and I'll also share it in my email. I will be sending out an email tomorrow. It will have updates for Kaufman County Master Gardeners and the Marshall, Texas event. So stay tuned for that information. Sunflowers are number 2 on my list of edible flowers. So not only are the shoots delicious, I got to see Catherine Carrington again from Carrington Hills Farm and Garden, I think is her Facebook page. She grows microgreens. And when I was in South Florida, there was a guy that grew amazing sunflower microgreens. I bought a bag from him every weekend that I was there at the farmer's market in Hollywood. This was in 2012. So 12 years ago when I was at the farmer's market, I used to buy those. They were delicious. But you can eat the leaves, you can eat the petals, you can eat the head of the sunflower. The leaves are a little bit tough when they're older, so a lot of times people will boil them or saute them with other varieties or with other veggies. But you can definitely grill the head of the sunflower when the seeds aren't super tough. So you have to keep that in mind. If you are saving your seeds for your sunflowers, you're not going to be grilling that head. But if you collect the head early. Hey, Kate, thanks for joining us. I see one of my chickens roaming the garden when she's supposed to be over on her side of the property. So something to consider if you want to harvest the heads of the sunflower to grill or bake or steam, you want to make sure that you harvest it early when the seeds are nice and soft and not tough. So that's the difference between harvesting for seeds versus harvesting for something to eat that's edible, like the head part of it versus the seeds. The flavor is delicious in the seed head, kind of like an artichoke heart. The petals are a little bit on the bitter side, but it adds a nice pizzazz to a salad. So I'm going to get to some of the varieties that we add to salads, flower wise. And the actual seed head has also maybe a little bit of a nutty flavor. So it just depends on what variety you're harvesting and when you're harvesting it, that you will have different flavors. If you don't like to boil the leaves, steaming the leaves is another option for you as well. You can also blanch them. So if you don't grill the heads, you can blanch them. That's another option for you as well. So sunflowers. You never really thought that you could harvest sunflowers to eat. Hey, MT Cali, thanks for joining me as well. Now, next on my list is cornflower. Cornflower can be edible, but it is on the little bitter side. Cornflower is also called bachelor button. Hey, Inga, thanks for joining me. Cornflower can also be used to naturally dye fabrics. So if you let it grow till its full maturity and you harvest the heads of the bachelor button or the cornflower actual flowers, you can boil those in water to make a natural dye for fabrics. But you can also eat the cornflower flowers. And those are, in my opinion, a little bitter, but they're still good. And if you pull them apart into smaller pieces and you sprinkle them on your salad, you disperse that seed head, or not seed head, but the flower head, so you're not getting that burst of bitterness at the same time. So that's something to consider if you want to eat the bachelor buttons. Don't just chomp the whole seed head. Maybe sprinkle it over your salad and you'll have it dispersed a little bit. Pansies are another one. I'm not sure if I sell pansies. We have Johnny Jump Ups, but I don't think I have pansies available for sale. But they're mild and they're fresh tasting. Dandelion is next on my list. And they can be eaten in salad or as a garnish. So it depends on what you're eating with it. Dandelions. Dandelions are usually the first flower for bees. It's usually the first food for bees. So I don't generally harvest dandelions right away when they first appear, because I want to make sure that the bees and the pollinators have something to attract them to my yard and keep coming back. But dandelions are absolutely edible. They're great in a salad. They're great in a tea. So you can definitely add those to a stir fry even. I mean, the sky's the limit as far as dandelions are concerned. You can eat the greens, you can eat the flowers. So very edible. And some people use the roots even for almost like a coffee, but I prefer coffee, not a coffee substitute. So I have never tried dandelion root coffee. Maybe I will add that later. Hibiscus is another flower that is edible. We sell something called Tyroselle, which is also called Florida hibiscus. It tastes similar to a regular hibiscus that you would grow, but it is not a perennial in cooler climates. So the Tyroselle is much more of a light sensitive, so you would plant it in the spring and you wouldn't harvest it until fall. Karen says yes on the coffee. Jenny Eden says, is there a deterrent for rabbits and squirrels? Yes. We offer something called a deer-proof garden seed mix and its flowers, and it can deter rabbits and squirrels. But honestly, as silly as it sounds, urine works very well to deter squirrels and rabbits. If you have someone that can pee around your garden, that would be great. If you want to collect urine and sprinkle it or dump it around the outer perimeter of your garden. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, I've been doing this for a really long time, and I've suggested this to a couple people, and the feedback so far has been very positive. You can use animal hair. So if you've got cats and you brush them, I've got cats, which is why I know this. You can brush your cats and you can pull that hair out of the brush and use that around your garden as well, and that will help deter them. There are specific plants that can deter rabbits and squirrels, but I haven't necessarily seen that it is as beneficial as urine or hair. You can use human hair even. If you're like me and you got a lot of hair and you brush your hair out and you got some hair in your brush, pull that hair out and put it in your garden. Those are a couple ways that you can possibly deter them. There's no guarantee, but it's something that might help. Squash blossoms are another edible flower. Now, one thing you need to remember is if you harvest those squash blossoms, you're probably not going to get squash. But usually in the squash cycle, a squash plant starts to produce male flowers first. And the benefit to that is it can bring pollinators to your garden so that when your squash starts to produce male and female, that the pollinators are already there, moving that pollen around to the two male and female squash blossoms. If you didn't already know this, squash has a male and female squash blossom. And you need both to produce an actual squash. So just throwing that out there. The flowers can be fried, they can be stuffed, they can be sauteed, they can be added to soups or stews, they can be eaten raw. I have actually pulled a squash blossom out in the garden and just eaten it raw and delicious in the garden, and it is really good. It's also a delicacy to actually go to a place that has stuffed squash blossoms. So there's actually people that sell squash blossoms by the case or tray or whatever to restaurants just to have them cook it or prepare it for their meals. So a squash blossom is a good one. Chamomile. Now, chamomile is a medicinal herb. It's great. I love it. And I've grown it in all of my gardens. I'm going to be a little more intentional with my herb planting this year. Chamomile is something that you can plant in your garden and use the herbs medicinally. You can use the whole flower. You can use the leaves. German chamomile is an annual. Roman chamomile is a perennial. So there are two different types of chamomile. But you also need to remember, I did make a note of this, so I'm reading my notes here. If you are allergic to ragweed, you should probably avoid chamomile because it's in the same family. So something to remember there. If you are for sure allergic to ragweed, because goldenrod, on the other hand, people mistake the two, and you're probably not allergic to goldenrod. You're allergic to ragweed. So keep in mind that the goldenrod is totally different than ragweed. I wanted to point that out because I've posted a picture of goldenrod and people go, oh my gosh, I can't plant that. I'm allergic to it. Nope, you're not. Literally, unless you shove the pollen or the plant up your nose, you're not allergic to goldenrod, you're allergic to ragweed. And that's why my husband can't do chamomile tea or chamomile tincture, because he has a ragweed allergy. So keep that in mind. Calendula is next on my list of edible flowers. Now, you can use chamomile and calendula as a tea, I mentioned already. You can use calendula to make a infused oil for your skin. You can use it to make a cream for your skin or for cuts and bruises and bumps and what I call farm hands. My hands are nice and soft right now because it's been winter time, but they're about to get nice and rough and scratched up, and I'm looking forward to it. I know it's kind of sounds crazy to have it be roughed up, but I wear gloves, but it's hard work in the garden sometimes, and I'm looking forward to it. Butterflies love calendula. Bees love calendula. So it's not only beneficial to us for either taking it internally or externally, but it's also fantastic for pollinators to attract them to your garden. So calendula is definitely going to be planted in my garden as well. Thyme flowers. Now, a lot of people don't think about thyme flowers or different herb flowers in general because generally you're growing thyme for the leaves, for the herb part of it. And then once it flowers, it's spending more energy to give it flowers than it is to the leaves that you want to use in your cooking or in your teas. But thyme flowers are also, sorry, I have my water. I didn't put it in my lap this time. I have it on a bucket over here. Hey, Jersey, thanks for joining us. So thyme flowers are also edible. Altered Ego, thanks for joining me as well. So that is one that I love. Rosemary flowers are another one. It is amazing the different flowers that you can get on your herbs that you don't really think about eating, and then it pops up and you go, oh, I can eat that. Now here's another one you might not have thought about. Arugula flowers. Arugula, when it bolts, produces these gorgeous flowers, and it produces seed heads as well, but those flowers are edible. My sister made an amazing salad one year when I was visiting, and it had all sorts of different bolted flowers from her garden. So it had cilantro, it had arugula, it had kale flowers, it had broccoli flowers. All of those flowers are edible. Hey, Janice, thanks for joining me. So if you are wanting to think outside the box, you can also use flowers from bolted plants as well to eat, and they're delicious in a salad. Now, borage is next on my list. Now, I've talked about that many, many times. Yes, thumbs up. So if you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Share it with your friends. Share it on your Facebook, YouTube, whatever social media you're on. Share the video because I always appreciate that. Borage flowers are amazing. Hey, Susan, thanks for joining me. And if you haven't already, in the description section of this video, you'll find a link to my comprehensive planting guide and tons of information. And as I mentioned when I first got started, I am trying to go live on Wednesday at 5 p.m. on my Facebook page and Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time on my YouTube channel. And here's a super exciting announcement. You can save 20% off on all sunflower seeds right now. The code is SUN20, SUN20. I don't know why I didn't mention that in the beginning. So you can use, today is February 27th. You can use that code right now through the entire month of March. SUN20 at checkout to save 20% on all of my sunflower seed packets. Karen says borage is one of my favorites. It reseeds every year. It does. So it's an annual that drops seeds to grow next year. And that's where some people have gotten confused. They think it's a perennial because it comes back every year. It's actually an annual that just drops seeds and new plants come up from those new seeds. Borage is a very small blue flower. It has a slight cucumbery taste. You can actually eat the leaves when the leaves are very small. So if it drops, ooh, interesting. Thank you, Inga. If it drops seeds and you have little teeny sprouts, you could eat those as well, just like you would a regular microgreen. I mentioned earlier sunflower microgreens. So you can actually eat the small seedlings of borage as well. Marigolds. Now, marigolds are also a little more bitter. They're not as sweet as some of the other flowers that I've mentioned. It has a little bit of a tang. You can use it for teas. You can use it for salads. You can use it to prevent some of the pests in your garden. So that's something to consider as well. Remember that calendula is not the same as marigold. Calendula is also called pot marigold. And I cannot tell you how many articles I've seen. If you don't, but I'm telling you, if you search how to grow marigolds from seeds, I cannot tell you how many times I have seen a hand with seeds in it that were calendula seeds. And those are not marigolds. Those are pot marigolds. They are completely different. And I also mentioned in my live video last night about the difference between African crackerjack marigolds and French marigolds. So if you're on Facebook, go back and check out the video. It was great. I was on a roll because I was super tired and cracking jokes and whatnot. So I actually got some sleep last night, which was pretty awesome. So I'm feeling my regular bubbly self. Lavender flowers are also beneficial and edible. Hey, Krista, that's all right. You can always watch the replay. Lavender flowers have a more intense and sweet flavor to them. You can, a lot of times people use for things like borage and lavender, a lot of times people will use those for like cake decorating because it looks really pretty and they're very visually pleasing. So those are some things that you can add is either a garnish or just decorate with it. Missy says, my first year growing borage, I thought they were weeds. I learned more about my plants and how to look. I love Mary's white borage last year. The white borage is very beautiful. It's not as easy. It's not as prolific as the blue, borage, but it's still really good. Karen says you love a lavender latte. Oh my goodness. I am missing out on the lavender lattes right now. I had no idea. I'm a coffee lover. So I had no idea there was such thing. So lavender is a really good one as well. I don't necessarily recommend consuming these in large amounts. I will share that like right away, but it's definitely something that you can add. Krista says, is there a rule of thumb when combining plants in the garden? Are there any flowers that don't like each other? I don't necessarily know about flowers that don't like each other. I do know about vegetables specifically that don't like each other. And in the description section of this video, you'll find a link to my comprehensive planting guide. In that comprehensive planting guide is a list of companion plants. I will say that in general, it is good to, my opinion, not like the rule of thumb or anything, but when you are planting some of your flower beds or areas, maybe you want to do perennials in one area and annuals in the other so that you're not disturbing them over the years. So you want your lupines in one area because those are an annual, and you want your borage in another. And you want some of the things that are going to be a little more wild, um, that you want those in an area that can be contained. So just something to think about is, so I was at the Gregg County Master Gardeners event this weekend, and there was a gentleman there who, his family owns a nursery, and they've been in the nursery business for over 100 years. And he was saying that, visually speaking, you want to have different heights and different colors. And he talked about a color wheel. And I have to say, it was way over my head because I'm not the ornamental person. I'm the vegetable garden person. So, but what he discussed was pretty good, visually pleasing, making designated spaces for certain things, and adding height in one and round in another and a triangle in another. And so it was like different sizes and different shapes in different gardens. So just throwing that out there at you. I mean, I missed Christian's joke because I was talking something. But I don't necessarily think there's flowers that don't do well with others, but I will get a specific answer for you very shortly. Let's see. I heard the marigold was fighting with lavender, had to out French Mary in the corner for timeout. Cilantro flowers are another one. I mentioned earlier my sister likes to put stuff in her salads. Cilantro flowers are really good as well. Now, keep in mind that if you harvest the flowers, you may not be getting as many seeds, but if you're like me and you have cilantro popping up in different random spots in your garden, those can be very beneficial if you pull out those flowers first before you have a ton of seeds dropping everywhere. Now, last on my list are two beneficial medicinal herbs. The first is yarrow. Yarrow flowers are beautiful. They can be beneficial to smaller insects, smaller pollinators, and it is medicinal. So that's a really good one for you as well. And the last is feverfew. Also, again, the flowers of these are edible. You want to make sure that you don't have any allergies to these particular herbs, and also adding a little disclaimer there that anytime that you are adding an herb into your lifestyle, you want to make sure that there's no contraindications if you are taking any medications, or if you have a health condition that you shouldn't be taking specific herbs. Okay, so I'm throwing it out there. I mean, even kale and pineapple, if you're on certain medications or if you have certain health conditions, you shouldn't be eating kale or pineapple. Two different things, but just to throw it out there. It could be that simple. So anytime I mention all this stuff, you do want to use caution. I mean, too much of anything can cause some issues. So you definitely don't want to have that. So I hope you enjoyed my live chat today. I love edible flowers. If you haven't already noticed, I get all excited talking about different flowers. Natasha says, so excited to get my yarrow in. Should have grabbed a feverfew too. We did restock feverfew, so it is ready. And I have everything on my list I've already discussed. Now, these are not all of the edible flowers. There are so many more edible flowers out there. I just have only so much amount of time in my day to share with you in a live video about certain topics. So just to recap, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I will be at the Kaufman County Master Gardeners this Monday, the 3rd. It starts at 10, but thanks, Esther's daughter. Doors open at 9. I will be there before. I will have seeds. I will be talking about seed starting and troubleshooting for that one. That's actually a workshop. Then I will be in Marshall, Texas on Saturday the 22nd. I'm not teaching anything except for if you come up to my booth and you ask me a bunch of questions, I will answer your questions, and I hope to meet some of you there. And then I have a handful more. As I mentioned last night during my live video, this has been the year of yes. This has been the year that I have said yes to in-person meetings, that I'm just kind of edging myself outside of my comfort zone and going for it. In September, I will be at the East Texas County Fair I believe it's September 19th, right after my birthday, and I will be teaching 2 classes, and that is at 6 p.m. and at 8 p.m. And there will probably be more events in the middle, but that's all I've got for now. I'll be live on Facebook next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central Time, and I will be live on YouTube next Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time. And all of these are as long as everything is going accordingly. Sometimes life happens and we got to kind of shift around our schedule. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate that you guys share your time with me. I enjoy going live here, and I enjoy chatting with you, and I enjoy hearing your feedback as well. So I am Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. I'm going to sign off for tonight. And before I do, use the code SUN20, that's SUN20, at checkout. Aw, you're welcome, Krista. Thank you. You can use the code SUN20 at checkout to save 20% off our sunflower seeds right now through the end of March 2025. That's it. Just giving you an excuse to plant more seeds, specifically plant more flower seeds. This is the year of yes, this is a year of more flowers. I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, signing off, and happy planting.